Marcus Conte reporting. I still have my Bernie hat on with my American flag. It was a sad night, right? Thank you guys for joining me last night in the live stream. And I guess I have to apologize for getting depressed or seemingly disappointed in the results. So this is an open letter to Bernie Sanders. as if I'm so important as one human being on earth. I will give my what do I want to give to Bernie Sanders? I want to give him some insight, my view from the field, and that he may take that in his travels. First, a reading. This is something I found online. It's actually it's a meme. I'll give you the American flag while I read it. So it's called Ubuntu. I am because we are. Ubuntu. In certain regions of South Africa, when someone does something wrong, he is taken to the center of the village and surrounded by his tribe for 2 days, while they speak of all the good he has done. They believe each person is good, yet sometimes we make mistakes, which is really a cry for help. They unite in the ritual to encourage the person to reconnect with his true nature. The belief is that unity and affirmation have more power to change behavior than shame and punishment. This is Ubuntu, humanity towards others. Wow, isn't that powerful? I am because we are. We don't exist in a bubble, right? I am because he was, or is, Sanders. So, what do I get from that reading is that it's very, very tempting to bash all the mistakes and point and say, see, Sanders, you're old, you're weak, you're stupid, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And what is that? Shame and punishment. But the reality is, I am because he is. We are because of him. Right? In a sense. It's like a story, though. Watching the fake election story comes to mind. When I was in a band, right? This band's crazy fucking band, right? A sick band, Staten Island, New York, fucking crazy, right? We were playing, and we were playing around hair bands, right? All the fake, the fake fucking Poison and all these shitty bands, right? That had absolutely nothing to say, right? They were just like dick and pussy bands, right? That's what they were, and we said in all our greatness, we said we're gonna shake it up. We're gonna sing. We're not gonna allude to the fact of dick and pussy. We're gonna actually say it. We're gonna shake it up. And boy, did they censor the shit out of us. Boy, did we get censored. Sort of like what's going on right now on YouTube. So I'm quite familiar with the censorship. But here's the story, right? So there was a guy in our band. We were 5 guys, right? We weren't really a band. We were a bunch of friends. We were people that literally, you hear stories about that. Oh, you guys are like a gang. But we really were. We were friends that used to hang out. I had a van at the time. I was fucking, wow, to go back to that time, man. Just, I had this van, this cargo van. And the songs that are on that album, the Barney Rubble album, the link is down below. You can find it if you want. And the songs were written in the back of the van while we would drink beer and hang out and laugh. And literally, we'd pass the guitar around. Everybody played guitar. We'd pass the guitar around, and if it was funny, we wrote it down. If it wasn't funny, if nobody in the room, if nobody in the van laughed, we'd move on to the next thing. But we had 5 guys in there, right? And everybody should play an instrument in a band, right? That's, just a normal fucking thing, right? So everybody played except for one guy, right? This guy Mike. All right? But man, was Mike cool. Mike was our friend, right? He had this look. He had a giant mohawk. It was fucking crazy looking, right? Mike Mohawk, right? Remember this guy. If you're out there, Mike, man, I don't know what happened to you, man, but I guess I'm sorry, the way the story ended up, but here's the story, right? Everybody played. I had been playing guitar for years and years, and I had attracted one of the best prodigy guitar players, this young kid, who was, again, he was my friend, right? I was like older than him, but we became friends through bands. And long story short, Mike Mohawk, he didn't really play an instrument, right? He couldn't play. Right? He was funny, and he would make up funny lines, but when it came down to actually forming a band, he couldn't play. So what we did was we parked him in front of a keyboard that wasn't plugged in, right? Right? And so then when we would go to gigs, right, they'd say, everybody's plugging in their shit, plug in the guitar. I was a singer, I had my microphone, it was on, right? And then I'd have to go over to the sound guy and say, look, the keyboard player, right, they'd say, we don't hear the keyboard, we don't hear the sound. It's like, that's okay, that's what we want, because he doesn't know how to play, he's just up there faking it. Right? So I'd have to tell them, even if they plugged them in, to shut it off. Just mute it. Don't plug it in at all. Right? And you'll figure it out as we go along that it's just a prop. Right? So what's the moral of the story? And everybody would, the music didn't have keyboard in it anyway. Right? So what is the moral of the story? The fact is that, and the sadness of the story is that eventually the band took off, and it was exposed, and it became like a burden, and we had to let the guy go, cut him out, which wasn't really the right thing to do. We should have compensated for his deficiency, right? But the moral of that story is that that's what we saw in the fake election. That's what we're seeing right now in the fake primary with Bernie Sanders, is that it's not real. Right? We were never plugged in. We were never going to be allowed to win because we weren't playing any instrument. We were playing our own make-believe. To them. To us, it's very real. So I just think it matters, It's a nice day in New York today. I'm just out walking around. I don't want to get too hard in the numbers. We watched the election last night, and I'll just say, look, it's inescapable fraud. Bernie Sanders, you've been placed in a situation, and for whatever reason, the fraud against you is inescapable. That can never be. There's no denying it. From every state, the exit polls are off drastically, remarkably, unprecedentedly, just like 2016. In California, the numbers. So there is no winning. There is no trying harder. There is no, please, 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 plug in my keyboard. Right? Ubuntu. We are your tribe, Bernie. That's what this is. We are your tribe. And we're telling you that the keyboard was never plugged in. It was never on. Nobody ever heard from you. The tribe was carrying you. And that tribe ultimately turned their back on you. I mean, just to hop on some of the negatives is that these people were never your friend. Well, we'll find out the full extent of the corruption as the days go on, as the as the months go on, as the election rolls around, and we find out that it might have been Obama who gave the nod to crush Bernie, to unplug him. All right? Pull those guys out. Pull out Buttigieg and Klobuchar and the other shit sandwiches and elevate the senile old man, because he's nobody, and he won't rock any boats. He's our guy, Joe, crazy Joe Biden, senile gaff king, right? Put him up on the stage. We'll find out exactly how it unfolded, but there's two ways that this could go. There's two ways that Bernie Sanders, after last night's defeat, the margin is not insurmountable. The math at this point is not insurmountable, but the cheating is. That there really is no way that Bernie Sanders is going to come over in New York and Pennsylvania and landslide it, because they're not going to let it happen, right? It's not going to happen, right? And now they're going to pull out the bullhorn, Bernie drop out, Bernie drop out. The orange monster. The orange monster, Trump. You got to drop out, Bernie. He's going to buy into that shit. There's two ways to go. Bernie, you could drop out and never look back. Don't look back, right? Staying in at this point doesn't really make sense, in my view. And I'm saying this from the heart, that it's not winnable unless you could, if you change completely, which I don't think you're going to do. But there's two ways of going, right? One is turn your back on the Dems and let them burn. We should have done it in 2016, but for some reason we're still here. Let them burn. Let them just eat each other. The markets will crash. The corruption will bubble over. Trump will continue to rape the country and decimate, any inkling of decency, I guess. Right? Or you can endorse that corruption, Bernie. You could say, Joe Biden's my friend. Vote for Joe. Joe's going to win. Joe is our guy. We're going to get a lot from Joe. You can go in that direction. And nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to believe that. The thinking people, nobody's going to support that. You see how quiet it was last night online? People were just like blown away by the degree of corruption. I don't think anybody expected it for them to come down late, to drop the hammer that hard. I mean, that was a hell of a hammer. They cheated in every state thus far. In Michigan, in California. California, you blew them out. You definitely won in Massachusetts. Do the numbers. This is not a numbers video. But the numbers are in my other videos if you care to look. So there's two ways to go. There's two ways that we can go, right? We're grateful for your contributions, Bernie. You brought to the forefront Medicare for all. The problem of grotesque levels of income inequality in this country. The issue of money in politics, as we're seeing right now in play. All right. You did so many good things. You told us about the insurgency wars, that we spend all this money and we don't have an enemy. All right. I am because you are. Ubuntu. You taught us all that shit. You taught us everything. But we said all along, it's like, here's the problem that I think that Mr. Sanders, Senator, is that you looked at the big picture. You're still focused on the big picture, all those big issues. But the smaller issue right in front of your face is the very corruption, which in 2016 we told you, was the problem and is the problem. And without acknowledging it, nothing will change. You must you must acknowledge the fact that this country does not have free and fair elections. The Democrats are deeply corrupted, right to the point of picking the leadership. It's picked by the donor class and then rigged by the people who currently hold the levers of power. Joe Biden loses to Trump. 100%. That might be the play. He might not make it to the finish line. He might die. He might resign. He might pass the ball to somebody else. Can't finish. But what's certain is Bernie Sanders, you're not going to be the guy, because that decision has already been made unless you turn it around. Unless you turn it around. And how could you turn it around? There's only one way. You have to call out the corruption. So, we live in an oligarchy. It is the end of an era. There will be no Medicare for all in this country for many, many years to come. All right? To all the people that supported Bernie Sanders, that believed in a message of equality, financial equality, racial equality, whatever equality, that all people are created equal, that a nation of the people, by the people, for the people can exist. But we're seeing that the ignorance right now in life is so great in our country, where people are celebrating the loss. We're celebrating the decimation of a great politician, a great leader who was cheated, and they celebrated as if that guy wanted to work for me. That guy wanted to give everybody and my kids health care and education. That guy believed in stopping the wars. What a dummy. Right? I want Trump. Right? The incredible level of ignorance. Or I want Biden, who stands for nothing. Who stands for more of the same. Trump 2.0. He's Trump, and you add on the Democratic corruption on top of Trump. It's Joe Biden. It's addition. Joe Biden is addition to the corruption. So that's all I wanted to say on this beautiful day here in New York. You're starting to see the buds on the trees, and it'll be spring soon. And I don't know, man. It's the cycle of life, right? Where do we go from here? Do we continue to pretend that we're going to win this election, that we're going to win back power in our country? No, for me, it ends here. It doesn't. I mean, Bernie Sanders, you didn't speak last night. You didn't come out in front of the cameras. What's in your mind? Are we going to hear from you later on, or down the road, or tomorrow, or today, and what? And then you say, drop out, Bernie and Joe Biden. It's just, I mean, it's how many more years in finality? How many more years do you think you're going to live? You think you're going to live to 100? You think you're going to get another Senate run and another chance at the presidency? No. Your time is now. Go out with a bang, right? Go out with a bang. That was your calling. To rebel, to be the rebel, to be the rebellious leader, right? That was your calling. It's not communism, it's not socialism, it's revolution. You're a revolutionary, but history will write it a different way if you bow out at this point. This is your moment. Maybe more so than becoming president. Your moment is to expose at a greater level the corruption and the wrongfulness that was done to you by simply being. Not suing, not attacking, but simply stating the facts. and staying with your tribe and not alienating your tribe. We are your tribe, the people, not the corporate oligarchs, not the idiots that you find yourself sitting in the Senate with and Congress, then the corrupt money-grabbing politicians. If those are your friends, then you were never our friend. You were never in the tribe. But I beg to differ. I think you were. I think you believed it, and you saw a different path forward. But that path, they saw us coming this time. They saw it coming, and and right up to Super Tuesday, they put the brakes on, said this has got to stop, and they stopped us dead in our tracks, right? So, dear Bernie Sanders, the moment is now. The last breath is now. Write a speech. You don't need your Senate seat. Retire. Step outside. Go on talk show TV. Come on my show. Start your own show. Marcus Conte reporting.